Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. And for any of my new friends out there, I am Sandy with Sandy's Organized Chaos. I hope all of you are doing so well today. So in this tutorial, we are going to be making this guy right here. Look at him. He's 3D, he's split, or she, whoever, whatever it wants to be. But that is what we are doing today. It's so easy, guys. I'm telling you, I was nervous when I went to go do this, but super duper easy and so adorable. I mean, look at that. So adorable. So before we get this started, I hope any of my new friends out there, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you watch my video all the way through. And if you want to, you can go ahead and hype my video too. Do you guys see the hype button down there? That's a new feature. It helps my videos out and it helps my tutorials get out there to more people. I would greatly appreciate that. So let's go ahead and wake up, prep these tumblers, and slay all day. Let's do this. I'm going to be working on a skinny tumbler today, but obviously you guys could work on a curved tumbler as well. Those are pretty cool. The concept, if the curved top with the skinnier bottom might make for a pretty cool tree. And if you did that and you still wanted to have it split, you could use UV-DTFs and line the other side, making it look like a patterned vinyl on the other side. So I went through my piles of vinyl here and I was having a hard time choosing which one. I've had these vinyls forever. So this is a great time to dig through your vinyls and see what you already have on hand. Now, of course, I am going to put who I bought my vinyl through down in the description box, but I'm going to also put a few other companies out there as well, just so you guys have a variety of places that do sell vinyls. So whatever tumbler you're using, you just want to come through and you want to measure your tumbler, and then you're going to cut that in half, and that's how big you want your vinyls to be for the opposite side. Now, I was trying to be fancy and use the hinge method to lay my vinyls down, but I just ended up taking the back off completely. This is how I feel the most comfortable, and just do it in this fashion because it is only just one half of the tumbler. So, what does it matter? I don't need to be fancy with it. I just need to get it laid down with hardly any bubbles in it, right? And then if you do get some bubbles in there, just take a little pin or something, poke a little hole in the top of it and push the air out, and nobody will ever know. All right, on to the fun part. Let's make this Christmas tree side. So I have my lightweight spackling. I just got this at Lowe's, Home Depot, anywhere like that. I think even Dollar Tree sells lightweight spackling as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fluff up my spackling. Now, I've used mine quite a few times for other projects, so it might be a little bit dry on the top, and you definitely don't want that dryness. So stirring it up really good, making sure you get all that fluff at the bottom to the top is going to help out tremendously and make sure everything goes smoothly for us. So I was completely inspired by the viral Michael's ghost painting from over this Halloween. Do you guys remember that? I'll put a little video here, but that completely inspired me to make this Christmas tree. I found that a very nice, just like a thick piece of cardboard, and you just want to cut it into this oval shape. And I like the cardboard with the corrugated in it because it almost gives it a texture after you smooth it onto your surface. It almost gives it kind of like a more branchy look to it. So make sure it has like that corrugated look to it, and it gives it a lot more to it. Now, full disclosure, you're going to see me fuss with this a little bit, and you're going to see tape whenever I didn't do tape to begin with. That's because I happen to be making this live. This is just edited down for you guys, obviously, but I ended up coming back through and putting more tape on the vinyl as well. So you guys want to do that first before you get started. My idea at first was I wanted the branches to come up over the vinyl, but then I realized it'd be really hard to paint it afterwards. So I decided just to put the tape down before I moved on any further. So in other words, I did a piece of tape on the bottom where the tree trunk will be, and then I'm going to tape off the sides where the vinyl is. So off to the side there, you see my cardboard with a bunch of that spackling on the very end of my cardboard. That's where you want to load that up, is right at the end of your cardboard. And you want to start with your tumbler at the bottom. So I have my tumbler turned upside down, and we are going to be working with these branches from the bottom up to the top. And if your spackling is really dry, which mine was at the top, it's going to be very awkward to work with. See how it really didn't want to pull off of my piece here? That's because it was really dry. But I learned my lesson, and as I got going, I was able to realize that, and it gets much easier if you work with spackling that isn't dried out. But you guys know I'm willing to show you anything, so I'm showing you this part. I'm showing you that I did have a difficult time at first, but I was able to pull it off of my piece here, and I was able to rearrange it with my fingers, and I was able to keep on moving on. So again, we're going to move on to the next branch here. I gathered up a bunch of that spackling at the very end of my palette here. Or you could use a palette knife too. I just thought of that. Anyways, you could use a palette knife too if you have a big one. And we are just going to push it down firmly so that way the end of it kind of curls up, and then push it down a bunch on your way back. So you just want to slick it on. Now, after I got that first row done, I went ahead and removed my tape. I wanted to do that before it started to harden up because I wanted to come through and make sure I adjusted any of the little branches down here so that way nothing was poking up before I, had a chance to peel back the tape. Now, moving on to that second row, you kind of want it off center from your first row. So I did have to go over into the tape a little bit, but that's okay. We kind of cut it when we go to peel back that tape so that way nothing gets messed up. So you kind of want it off center from the row before it. So that way, again, it has that layered branch look to it. Moving on to that very last row, you want your last row to be, gosh, I think it was about 2 inches away. So you're going to do the same motion where you press down and pull back, making your branch. And then the rest of that's just going to stay the way it is towards the top. And once it gets painted and everything, you can't even tell. And honestly, it gives it a little bit of texture. So that's a pretty good space up at the top there. I'm liking that. So we're going to see how much easier it is because I was digging to the bottom there. There, much easier. See how much easier that is? You just press it down, pull back, and you want to leave the little tufts at the end there. And that's what gives it that branch look for sure. So if you find yourself having an issue, if you go to do this look, make sure your spackling is fresh. Okay, that's my biggest tip. And before I pull my tape, I'm going to go ahead and just run a straight edge right along the edge of my tape line here. And then ever so effortlessly, just peel that tape on back. Now is the time you want to come through and you just want to tap down any areas that are poking up and all weird before it dries. And then you're going to want to set it off to the side and let this dry for at least 3 days, 3 days plus. I let mine dry for about a week just to really make sure, but 3 days should be good. But definitely, touch it, make sure before you start doing the next steps. All right, this is after a week. I'm squeezing it. I'm all that. It's on there. It's nice and stiff, and it's ready to be painted and have its embellishments applied. So obviously now is the time, if you want to put down a quote on this opposite side here, now is the time to go ahead and do that. I was having a hard decision. I didn't know if I wanted to do this or something else, but I ended up doing a giveaway with this, and I let the person who won it choose what the quote was to be on it. So I didn't put any quote on it this round, but you will see it at the end. All right, I retaped up my vinyls because we were going to come through and get started on the tree trunk. Now, because I was working straight on the stainless steel silver here, I went ahead and did just a coat of just the acrylic paint. So I'm going to come through and paint this brown and let that dry. Then I will come through with some Mod Podge and do a 50-50 mix of Mod Podge and acrylic paint. I just feel like when you mix in a little bit of glue with the paint, the glitter adheres a lot better than versus if it's just the acrylic paint. And then I'll move forward with getting the bottom covered with our 50-50 mix, then coating it with whatever brown glitter you happen to have on hand. To speed up the process, I went ahead and hit it up with my blow dryer, making sure that it was nice and dry before I moved on here. And I'm going to sweep away any extra glitter off of that before we get started on the tree part. Now I went digging around in my glitter and I found this really pretty, just light green, and it has some opals in it. And I figured that'd be really nice. But if you don't want to use a chunky, obviously you can use a fine glitter as well. Now the green I'm going to use for my branches was this really pretty spring green that I got from Walmart. I'm going to do a 50-50 mix of that as well with glue and the paint. And I'm going to use a nice bouncy sponge brush to really get that paint down into those nooks and crannies of our branches. You're going to see when I get down to the end here, I left a little bit of white because I did not want to get the green on the brown. So I waited till the brown dried fully and I taped it, and then I finished up the bottom from there. But you're going to see it kind of unfinished here because, again, this was live and I wanted to keep moving forward. So what I did with the chunky glitter is I didn't want to fully drench it in the chunky glitter. I just kind of wanted to lightly put it over top. So I didn't want it fully coated because you know how chunky glitter is, it'd be sticking up and everything. But I feel like this real just light dusting of it really did the trick. Now I'm gonna go ahead and peel back the tape so that way we can kind of see it after we get it all painted. But pretty much from here, what you want to do is let this dry completely. Again, I let it sit for about 24 hours before I apply a coating of epoxy over top of this. Now, before I put my epoxy on, I gave it a good sealing of a spray sealer so that way our glitter doesn't shift around on us. And I'm going to apply, what did I apply? I think it was about 30 mLs of epoxy here. Now, the other side I'll show you here in a second, but I actually took a throwaway brush, just an old foam brush, and I'm going to make sure that I get that epoxy and tap it up into those branches so that way I know everything is fully coated in epoxy. Now we are going to pretend for the sake of this tutorial that this had its quote put on it, had its pinstriping put on it, and we are finishing up our coats of epoxy. So I did about 3 to 4 coats of epoxy over top of this, making sure it was ready to go for our next steps. Now to finish mine up, I am going to be putting some half pearls on the back, like almost like baubles on a Christmas tree. I thought that was super cute. So I'm going to use liquid fusion. I like to put mine into a syringe. This is what I do, and then you can kind of cap it off and save whatever you don't use for later. Now I have an array of half pearls. I got some from Flint Sisters Supply Shop, and I also got some from Michael's. And to finish this up, it's completely up to you how many little half pearls you want to add. I like to do mine in little groupings around each branch. Now the branches were a little difficult because some of them, it flips up just a little bit. So you got to make sure you find a nice flat spot for your pearls. What I did was if I had an issue where it seemed like a pearl was raised up on one side was after it cured or after the glue dried, I came through and squirted just a little bit more glue underneath my pearl, making sure it was nicely backfilled. Whether you take this and duplicate it as is, or you take it and let it inspire you to create something that is completely your own, I hope that you guys did enjoy this tutorial today. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and that like button, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.